All right.
I mean, it'd be fun.
No, it wouldn't.
I'm
I
good
don't
to
handle
go.
puke well, so one of you all would be cleaning it up, just FYI. I
Leave
will
it.
puke myself. if
Just
I-
leave it.
Like I ran some
It'll
kids.
decompose.
I'll make it to the trash can,
Okay.
and then we can just take
Deal,
the
and then we'll all
trash
just evacuate.
out. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
ready.
Ready? All right, show of hands, how many people in here have taken an agriculture education class?
Nada.
Okay, Connor, I'm going to ask you a question real quick. What would you say was the biggest takeaway from your experience in an agriculture education class?
Put me on my career path.
Put you on your career path. That's good, because we're actually going to talk about that. I've got 3 reasons as to why I believe that agriculture education is important to the future of our country and our society. So let's go ahead and get started. My first reason is because we have a growing population with less farmers than we've ever seen before. According to National Geographic, by the year 2050, there are predictions that it'll be around a global population of 9 billion people. Actually, I think right now they're looking at like 9.5 billion people. So that's a jump up from what we're at right now by about 2.5 billion. Now also, right now, there are about 2 million farmers in the United States. Sounds like a lot, right? That accounts for about 1.2% of American jobs. And that's from USDA.gov. Sounds like a lot, but if we look back 100 years ago, according to the New York Times, in 1920, there were 31.2 million farmers in the United States, accounting for roughly a third of American jobs. Why is this important? 2050 is 30 years away. 29. If we're going to feed an extra 2.5 billion people in the next 30 years, it's vitally important that we can educate young people on agriculture and how that they can get involved in a career in that field. My second point is that ag education provides a quote-unquote family-type atmosphere for students who may not be able to get that anywhere else. I can remember back my freshman year in high school, I had Ag Science 1 with Mr. McCrory. It was first block on the first day of school. Now a lot of you guys may not know this, but freshman year I was not the same person I am right now. I was a lot quieter, especially at the beginning. I was extremely nervous about high school in general and everything that goes along with that. But as soon as I walked through that door, the first thing that we did was shake Mr. McCrory's hand, and he graded us based on how our handshake was. I remember I shook his hand and he looks at me and he goes, "You know, you've got a lot of potential." He goes, "If you work hard, you can be successful in the Troy FFA." So right then and there, that made me stop and think, now hold on, wait a minute. Everybody said high school is going to be super hard, it's going to be tough, but now I've got somebody who believes in me, like a parent figure, who I can go to if I need anything. So that's just my personal experience. But I also interviewed Mr. Vandevort, an ag teacher in Ellsbury, Missouri, and I asked him, I'm like, what was your biggest inspiration for becoming an ag teacher? And he told me, well, back when I was in high school, there wasn't anybody there to give support to these kids, and some of these kids didn't have a very good life at home. He goes, so by the time I was a senior in high school, I decided that it was going to be me. I was going to be the person who would support these kids, and I figured the best way to do that was to be able to teach ag education. My third reason, and I'm really glad Connor said this, because that's the reason I chose Connor, is because I knew that he would pick up on it, is ag education gives students insight into new careers that they may not have thought of before. I'm going to go off of personal experience again. When I came into high school, even middle school, I was set. I'm going to either be an accountant or I'm going to go into the medical field. Now, looking at me now, I am definitely not going into the medical field. I do not have near the grades for that, and I am not quite as smart enough for that. So that's out. So I've got this idea, I'll be an accountant, I'll be fine, I'll make good money. But what I learned through ag education is that you can have a job that pays well and you can be miserable for the entire time. Or you can have a job that pays well and that you're interested in and it doesn't ever really feel like you're working at all. So based on that, I decided that I was going to go into ag business, still kind of on the accounting side, but you know, it's something that I'm interested in. But don't just take my word for it. According to Mr. Calvin, through a survey that he conducted last year with his outgoing seniors, around 60% of the students in his classes said that they had decided on their career path, whether it was something that they wanted to do or something that they definitely didn't want to do. They decided on it based on what they learned in ag classes. You know, I've seen a lot of different school districts in our area, Warrenton, for example, who have either decreased their ag education or completely taken it out in total. But what does that teach kids? That teaches kids that it's okay to, you know, hate your job, not want to go do anything. It's okay to not have a family type atmosphere. And it's okay that we're going to have 9.5 billion people in 30 years and no way to feed them. Thank you.